Yes, ready to go live? Come on. My sweetest, sweetest, dearest Veda, how are you? Me in Dubai and you in Auckland, New Zealand. How are you? Welcome to the 14th episode of Back to Joy.
Yay! I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
Tell us, how are you, sweet Veda?
I am doing so fantastic. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous summer day here, and I have my children and beautiful beach just outside. So everything is good. Everything is beautiful. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to this program that's created just for you so that you can spring back into joy no matter what, whatever is around you, whatever the circumstances. And Veda, the water goddess, is going to tell us so many interesting things. We have an hour only, but truly we could speak forever because water is everything, truly. And I also flew out of Mexico into Dubai. However, I want to show you what we do in Mexico to spring back to joy in this beautiful space, San Miguel de Allende. This is we already have Julie and Yvette saying hello. That is Mexico. This is what my absolute passion is, to share the beauty and the joy that life is. Having come from poor Gloria into great we. And so this is why this place, Villas Hishu, the Sisterhood of Grandmothers, was born. Not built, but born. And now we have sweet Veda to let us know, how does she share her joy for life? Who is Veda?
I love that you asked me that question, Gloria. And you have, we talked about this, and I basically believe that I am a beautiful body of water that is living her highest purpose of connecting to as many other bodies of water that I can to bring joy into the lives of others.
Oof, that's all. You are a body of water.
So, that's right.
Before, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to know how to refer to this beautiful lady. Water researcher was not enough. I said, no, water goddess, because you're in for a treat. Yvette and Julie and all of you that are here, and the people who are going to watch us out of live. Not live. A water, a body of water. Tell us, what is to be that?
Well, that is what we all are. That's what every living entity on the planet is a body of water. I could go into the science, but I won't. But one thing I'll say is that by molecular count, we're 99% water, which means there are more water molecules in our body than stars in the Milky Way. And water...
Water itself
came from asteroids, from outer space, and seeded the earth, which means we all came from the stars, and we're made of this incredible fluid. And when you think about that, whenever you cut yourself, we leak. At our highest and lowest moments, tears come out of our eyes. When we exercise, we sweat. When we go to the bathroom, we urinate. We leak. This is a body full of fluid, full of incredibly informed, beautiful water. And that is genuinely how I see this world, as water observing itself through every living entity on the planet.
Observing itself? Does it have memory?
I believe that water and salt have an incredible marriage. If you think about salt, salt is actually a crystal. And the way in which we have all of the information stored in our computers and our phones and our technology is held in crystal. So if you think about it, this human body and any other body of water is salt is a saline solution. It's salt in water. So in fact, I think that water itself is awareness. And when you bring, that's my beautiful daughter, and when you bring when you bring salt into the equation, salt stores and holds the memory. And so the two of them have this marriage where the water is always awareness, no judgment, no indifference. So it will enter the body of an ant or a rat or an elephant or a human being so easily without any thought, because it is not judging. And so when it goes into that body, the memories are literally stored in the salts. And water is able to hold and store information in this way. So I think, yes, water definitely has huge capacity to have memory, and memory just not from just in the now, but memory of everything that it's ever been and ever will be. Because even in the universe, there is water, and water is always in one of its different phases. And there's more than 3 phases. There's a liquid, solid, gas, and then a type of gel, and that's the kind of water inside of our cells. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's probably many more different types of water. But in fact, I think water stores and holds the most incredible information that we could ever care to know or want to know about.
How would knowing this, the fact that water has memory, how can that help us in the understanding of who we are, or who you are, who others are, what life is? How can this memory help us or impact us?
Sorry, I'm just waiting for this plane to go. It's very loud. This is a really great question, because it's one thing understanding that water can store and hold information. It's another thing. It's like, well, what does it mean to us? What it means to us is that we can remember all of our life. We are a body of water storing and holding the memories of our life. When we look back at our life, we're looking back into the body of memory that we have. Memories are stored, I believe, within the fluid of the body. And I don't usually share what I'm about to share with you really early on, but I'm going to share it with you because it's relative to what we're saying. Some years, a while ago, when I had a miscarriage, and I took some of the blood, and because I work in crystallography, I froze some of the blood, and there was a perfect little baby, an image of a baby in the blood. And it meant so much to me, Gloria, because it also showed to me that our most precious memories are stored within us, within the fluid of us, no matter what. And the hardest thing, I think, for us as human beings sometimes is also that we do store and hold all these memories, because not all our memories are sweet and beautiful. Sometimes they're hard. But that is the sweetness of life as well. We understand that we are a body of water. What makes us so beautiful is how we respond to everything we've been through in the now. So taking ownership of everything that has ever happened to us and staying right now in this moment saying, yes, this is all of the memories that I have, that I've made. But I think the most important thing is to be the best memory in somebody else's heart. So when we leave this earthly plane, like I've lost, two friends passed away this year for me, and what they left in my memory body is all those beautiful memories of them. So I never forget them because they're in my memory, and in that way, I also know I'm in theirs. And so these memories, they don't go away. They're shared, and they're beautiful, and they're very special.
Okay, here I see the danger and the joy of how are you going to choose to receive those memories if you're going to up again. Taking ownership requires of a lot of rooting, remembering that you're divine. We're all divine. So if you remember that, no matter what kind of memory comes from your little baby in that drop of blood, and you could see the image of that little baby, and you're sharing with us, which is so nice because it's an intimate moment. But just to let us understand, how are you going to take that memory? Oh my God, how nice, or oh my God, how horrible, right?
That's
So
the choice, yeah.
that's the choice. That's the choice that we will get up to towards the end of our conversation. What are the 3 tools that you're going to share with us? However, this is very important to start realizing that we have a tool by being water that has memory, and this water that has memory, will it remember differently? Let's say the water has memory, but does it have the ability to think? Does it have an intelligence?
Well, I've been studying and playing with water for the last 8 years. And the work that I've been doing is in crystallography. So essentially, I influence water. Well, I use that word, it seems so arrogant. But anyway, for example, I play with water. And so I can take an image and put a petri dish of water on top of that image, like a photograph of somebody, freeze it using my technique, pull it out, and actually there'll be a picture, an image of that person in the ice. And so water is not just storing information. There is a stage between liquid and solid where water is in between. It's like a liquid crystal. And in that stage, water goes from molecular chaos, which is what it is like when we drink it, into molecular order. And
Molecular
in that
chaos.
order, it goes from molecular chaos to molecular order. So, for example, naturally formed ice is called a mineral because it has the same lattice-like order as a crystal does. So its crystals store and hold information. That's all fine and well. But what I'm seeing is, yes, water is able to create very specific patterns, but it is also able to respond. So anything that's able to respond intelligently, and so I haven't just got random one photo here, one photo there that looks like a photo of this person's, a picture of this person's face, or this or this. And we're going to get into this and show you what I mean. But what I'm saying is that actually water seems to be able to respond intelligently through an artistic expression. So what I mean is that it responds in a way which human beings can relate to. So if I project the feeling of love into water, what I always see in the crystallography is hearts. If I project the feeling of stress into water, it always makes these specific spikes. And so there are very sort of specific things. I have put my hand in water and a picture of a hand has come. And so I have over 12,000 photos of water responding this way,
Wow.
which is why I can't say that it's just a coincidence.
So I'm sure you will be able to show us these pictures in a little bit. Masaru Emoto, I think, is a very well-known person with his book where he shows us exactly what you're telling us. And there's crystals, beautiful crystals or deformed crystals. What is the difference between Masaru's work and your work?
Mine is macroscopic. So all of the photos I'm taking are taken on my iPhone. And I don't have a cold room. So what that means is Masaru Emoto's work, they had a very specific cold room. They used just a tiny drop of water and let it freeze. And they're using a high-powered microscope and looking at the water crystals. When I first started doing this 8 years ago, I didn't have a microscope. And I thought, well, I want to see if water's got any kind of memory. I wasn't sure if it was true. But I had heard not only of Masaru Emoto, but I'd also heard of I have a friend called Laurent Costa. He's French. And he has taken photographs microscopically of water that have shown hearts and faces and fish and different images. So looking at it artistically, I was like, wow, that's sort of a next level. But what was interesting also, Gloria, was that there is a man called Thomas Hieronymus, and this was in the earlier part of the 19th century. And he observed when he went to a French meat market, and he observed that the freshly placed organs of an animal appeared to be affecting the way the frost froze on the glass behind where the organs were placed. So above the heart organ, the frost was freezing in the shape of the heart organ. Above the liver organ, the frost froze in the shape of the liver, and so on and so on. And so his thought was that perhaps that life force energy that was, he believed, still in the organs because there was still blood or water inside the organs, still had some kind of energetic imprint that was influencing the way in which the frost froze behind it in a very specific way. So I thought, well, I want to see if water has memory for myself. And so I had a petri dish. So I got my petri dish of water. And my idea was that I was just going to think something and project that thought into the petri dish and freeze it, because everything that Masaru Emoto did, and same with Laurent Costa, was in the freezing process. They're photographing water that has flash frozen. And so but when I was doing that, there was a bit of fluff in the petri dish. So I was like, oh God. So I put my hand in to take the fluff out, consciously thinking, I wonder if my hand will have any impact on the water's memory. And then I froze it, and I pulled it out, and I held it up to the light, and I took a photograph of it on my phone. And I was freaked out, actually, because it was so realistic, and it was half the size of the petri dish. And in macroscopic terms, that's huge. And it was a hand. And I can start showing you some of these images,
yes,
so
please,
you can see what I mean. So that would
great.
Of course. Okay. And get to that one in a minute. Okay, so this is the hand.
Oh.
So this was like the inspiring photo that I really, that blew my mind. And I showed it to my son on my phone, and I said, Rama, what does this look like? And he was like, oh, it's a hand? I'm like, it really is a hand. So then I wanted to see if it was a fluke, because I was kind of freaked out. I was like, gosh, this is huge. This is a huge image. And so then I went down to the beach, and I wanted to see if seawater would show me any imagery. And this is the photo of the fish and you can see all this feathering and all these different kind of textures are relative to seawater.
Wow. Yes.
But you can see the fin, the perfectly round eye, the shape, the tail of the fish.
Yeah.
And I was like freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy amazing. And so I started taking photo after photo after photo. And then I started to change my technique as I started to understand more and more about the new science of water. And that in-between stage, between liquid and between solid, that liquid crystal stage. And now my technique only takes under 10 minutes, a very short technique. And so you can see the difference in style. So, for example, this photograph is of my friend Wendy. I used her photo as the influence. I put a petri dish of water on top of her photo and froze it, pulled it out, and this was the picture that was shown in the ice. And basically, it's like water saw her and then designed her in the ice.
Wow.
And this was only 30 seconds. So that's my sweet number for some reason, 30 seconds only. But I wanted to see if it was able to design other people's faces with their imagery, with their kind of features. So I used someone who looked very different than Wendy. This is my friend Igor. He was at the water conference in Germany last year. I did the same thing. I put the petri dish of water on his photo for 30 seconds, took it off, froze it, and you can see that his features are very clearly defined in the ice. So again, another photo. This is my friend Laurent Costa. He sent me this photo. He said, please, can you show it to the water? You can see water has designed his profile. So all of these photos are from photos or images as the influence. I love this one because this is a picture of my daughter's braid. I took a photo of it. I printed it out, and I put the petri dish of water on top of it for 30 seconds. But this, I mean, even if you see this as art and you don't look at it as science, just to paint a braid takes a lot of work. There's like a lot of shading that needs to happen. And this was pure water when it went in. The different colors that come in from the background are based on, there's a lot of light that comes in my house. I take these photos in my kitchen, hold them up to the light in different areas, and you get different light that comes through. But I wanted to see if this was, well, a coincidence, so to speak. So I did that test 3 more times. And every single time you can see a braid in the ice.
And it's different each time. So
each time. It's
here,
like
the water have its own personality. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Just like we do. And each time it's like there's a different artist that has designed the same image. It's like all these people were asked to paint a picture. They're going to paint it differently from each other. Water's the same, exactly the same.
Wow, it's so alive. It's almost mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to see this picture. It's the same your daughter's braid, but in a different moment, water chose to manifest it differently.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's happening. And so this one, the influence was the picture of this hieroglyphic tablet. I liked the image and the rounded arch. But this is 3 different tests that I did of putting and each one, it's almost looking like it's kind of looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And here, this is cool because you can see the test I did. So I was studying electrical conductivity. And as I was doing that, I came across this cool black and white image, which I liked. So I printed it out and I put the petri dish of water on it. And you can see that the water has designed, the ladder and everything is there. But this is one of my favorites. So I used this Van Gogh image of the sunflower painting that he's one of the many pictures he's famous for. And this is the design in the ice. So this is like, water is not only, you asked me, is water hold memory, but is it intelligent? Yes, I believe it is very, very intelligent. I believe that it is almost the intelligence source of life in many ways.
do you feel, I mean, just hypothetically asking you, can water get upset?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I'm going to come out of stop sharing, and we'll get into those in a minute, because that's a great question. Can water get upset? I think water responds. So there have been times when I felt, I've been feeling frustrated. Every now and then, we all feel frustrated. Sometimes that happens. And when I do these interactions, this crystallography with water, and I'm feeling like that, it won't play with me.
It won't play with me.
It won't design at all. It won't do it. And so it's not that it gets frustrated or angry. It just won't engage in that lower vibration.
Wow, let me write this down. Vibration. Water won't play with me. This is a huge statement.
Yeah.
This is a huge statement.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I when I think about it, I just total goosebumps then as well, because it's a very profound. Water isn't sitting in the seat of judgment. It simply will not interact from a lower vibration.
Wow. This is amazing. Let me write this down again, because if water won't play with me if I am in lower vibration.
Yeah.
Which is in judgment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's huge. It's really, really huge.
That's why I can safely tell you that I feel that water, I mean, I think we have many spiritual teachers, but water is one of my spiritual teachers, because it is constantly reminding me that for me to interact with it, I am required to be the best version of myself I can be. It is a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy that we've able to talk. I've never actually been asked this question, so it's fabulous to actually say this, because I've never said this on all the interviews I've done. No one's ever asked me that question, so I'm really happy that we can talk about it.
Me.
Yeah.
I think this has a huge effect. I mean, I have here another question that I wrote before for you. How has this helped society? How has your work helped society or affected?
Mm-hmm. Well, my work, and I always think it's a co-creation, Gloria, because I'm the medium and water is the artist. Water is chosen now more than ever, I feel, to show its voice. And there's that saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And so water is choosing to share this wisdom and knowledge through imagery.
I wonder if she has chosen that, or you have just provoked it. I am sure that we are so lucky to have you, and we have this technology that we can share it. However, I do believe before there were no petri dishes, there were no, so many things. But would you think that water has always been our ally? So if you say that she doesn't play with you if you're in judgmental mode, that means that she's always been there to sort of guide us into the, you want to play with me? Then be in the appreciation mode. Would it be like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that water has always been our constant companion as well. The truth of that is that when you think about, even in procreation, even the way in which we are created, that life is created, is always through water, a type of water. And then when you think about growing in your mother's womb, in the amniotic fluid of the womb, and then we come out of our mother, and we are a whole body of water unto ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So always water was with us. And I also think that upon death, this has been my observation, and this is my own personal thinking, but if you consider that this human body is essentially water, minerals, salt, and consciousness.
Yes, and consciousness.
It's consciousness. So then you think, what leaves the body when we die? The water will always rise, and the salts, even if we're cremated, the salts, that's what ashes are. When your body is cremated, the ashes are actually salts. We have two immortal things within us that we mostly are made of: salt and water. Water always in one of its stages. Salt too, it will disappear when it goes into water. It will blend with it, but when the water evaporates, the salts are still there. They have two immortal things that we are made of. So I feel very much like water itself is the fluidity of awareness that is always with us at every moment.
Now we have Allah Atyakitani. Hello Allah, how are you? Asking us, do you think the water in our flats still has this energy, or is it lost in the pipelines? And how to get this energy from water memory? This is a great question. Thank you, Allah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's the more professional area of my study. So I am able to prove that water that comes from a tap has a very specific structure compared to water that has come straight from a spring. Straight from a spring, the water creates these hexagonal shapes. They're very specific. Water from a tap has lots of disjointed little lines. But the nice thing about that is that I've also done a lot of studies where you can re-enliven water. So I would never drinking
enliven water. Tell us about that.
So because I've been able to take hundreds of photos of tap water, I see the same patterns always happen. So that's because it's gone through right angles. Water molecules have a certain amount of electrons, and when they go through right angles, which is piping, they lose an electron. Therefore, they don't have the same sort of structure as they did when they were kind of born, essentially from within the spring. Although that's the wrong term. Water isn't exactly born, but it's kind of always going through this reincarnations process in a way. So what you can do is you can, if you have a blender, because water loves to vortex. Water always isn't going in spirals. That's its natural liking, its natural design is to spiral. So when you when it goes through piping, through all these municipal taps, it doesn't like that at all, and it doesn't. It's kind of its crystallography proves that it's not in a happy or healthy energetic state. That's why I say energetic state, because you can see that when you make it go into a spiral using your blender, or even just getting a teaspoon and actually stirring the water one way and then stirring it the other. These are very simple, cheap ways of like being able to re-enliven your water by creating a vortex. Water also loves a certain type of light. It loves infrared light. So the special type of water that's inside of our cells loves infrared light, and it expands and it helps keep us healthier. So infrared light is nice. If you can find some silk, pure 100% silk, and if you filter your water, your tap water through silk, it will change the structure of silk. You can put your water into a Tibetan singing bowl and play it. It will change it structurally. Water can change energetically into a new state of health. In fact, it can be completely healed in its structural, energetic health. It will not take away all of the impurities that are in the water. But I'm talking about something, and I really want people to understand this. When you look at water, when people have an analysis done of water, they're looking at everything that's in the water. Like there's this mineral, that mineral, fluoride, bromine, blah, blah, blah. But that's what water holds. That's not the water. It's just what it holds. You can take those things out and it's still going to be water. Mm-hmm. So water itself has an energetic imprint, an energetic state of health. So I am looking at water's energetic state of health when I'm looking at these images in crystallography that it shows me when it's come out of a tap. So it's very unhappy. It's not healthy when it comes out of the tap because it's gone through trauma. But you can also take water and hold it to your heart, and you would be amazed at the difference that structurally it's connecting again. There's so simple things we can do. We can project our thoughts, hold the water, and actually impact it by our loving intention and vibration. These are also the things that Masaru Emoto showed us that touched so many people. Our thoughts can literally change a body of water that's in our glass, but also in ourselves.
I want to bring to this point one of my life experiences when I was traveling to one place, and you know how they don't allow you to bring the water into the plane. And so Masaru, I love his books, I love him. He left us already without finishing what, well, no, let's not say it that way. Anyway, he said that the best water is the one you respect. And I've read his book so many times, the same book. I have the audiobook and I hear him again and again, and it's his voice, so it's like talking to him. So I was in front of the officer who said, you can't take that water. And then I asked the officer, this was the bottle of water, and I said, officer, do you know which is the best water? It had a name, so he mentioned the name or whatever. And I said, no, it's the one you respect. So if you allow me, I'm going to drink this because this water cannot go into the trash. And I remember drinking it with all that respect and feeling the smile of Masaru and feeling all my 50 trillion cells welcoming that water into me. And then I remembered how Masaru said, if you speak nicely to the water and then you freeze it, you have nice crystals. So all of a sudden I felt my whole me is a beautiful crystal. And I felt, like I'm floating. And of course, the rest of the trip was even nicer because you keep on floating. Now that I know that water has this memory and that you're working with it with this macro crystallography, it's like a tool to know, like, hey, you have it inside you. So how you're thinking about yourself is going to affect yourself. So I want to be in that mood of the best water is the one I respect. And when I say that, I'm respecting myself. So then myself is respecting everyone else. So everybody's a winner. Does it sound like this?
100%. And that's also so relevant when you ask me, like, what is my work doing for the world? I think when you really start looking at what water is showing us, it's showing us that we are so much, how do I want to say this? The water within us and the water that we choose to drink. I think that the water has also chosen you. And I think that there is this reciprocating relationship that happens between people, between animals, between nature, between water, because of this interconnectedness of water. If you really look at the work, what we're seeing is that we are all connected by water. And that, in fact, water shows us that the best version of ourselves is to be transparent, and that to not judge, and to also observe that water is our constant companion. And that's not some small thing, because so many people, they feel alone. They feel, especially in the life that we're living in this time now, whereas in fact, we're surrounded by this companion in the air, everywhere. We're surrounded by this beautiful awareness and compassion all the time. And in fact, our entire body is this incredibly beautiful body of water, which can interact and send messages through the air. That's why we can feel what someone's feeling across the world. Sometimes, we've all had that thing where it's like, oh, you think of that person and all of a sudden that person will ring you and you haven't heard from them in a long time. That's because it's like that thought. Our thoughts don't just stay contained inside of us. Out the water, we're like a liquid antenna. We're constantly picking up information, especially if it's directed at us. I've had people send their intentions to my very sad tap water all the way from everywhere around the world. 64 people sent their love to my tap water. And my tap water was completely healed structurally afterwards when I took the photo. It was as if it had come from a pure spring.
So in other words, we can caress water. Let's say I take my water from the bottle I have here, and then I take a spoon and I swirl it this other way, and then I talk to it nicely, and then I drink it. Is this going to have a different effect on me than if I'm just, in a hurry, in a rush, and I'm thirsty, I drink it and I leave the glass there and I rush out? Would that be a different effect?
Of course. Anything that we put attention to is going to make a difference. But also when you think, it's always about perception. So often we just think we take water for granted. But if you think that water is very nice to say a little prayer or a little word or a little thank you with the water, because eventually the water that comes into us and leaves our body as well will be evaporated up into the clouds, and the clouds will take that prayer all the way across the world, and they will eventually rain down on people. This is real. Like your thoughts, your prayer, your kindness, that just into a glass of water that we can think is so simple, that we take, that eventually exits our body and will enter the trees, it will enter the clouds, it will enter the environment. Everything across the world will be impacted by your thought. It's so powerful.
I have another powerful question. I mean, we had a prior talk and you said, I asked the water, can you connect with my mom? All of us have moms, and all of us, we know the importance, but can you tell us more about this and when water connected to your mother, even if she really transcended?
Yeah. So my mom, she was a walking angel. My mother was so beautiful. And she transitioned, she died in 1999. And I'm so privileged to have had such a beautiful mom. And so a couple of years ago, I just asked the water a question. And I said, water, can you please connect to my mom? And so I'll tell the story before I show the photo. I used to live in Japan, and this was before emails and all this. And so we would write letters to each other, like handwritten letters, and they get posted. And it's such a novelty now, we hardly ever do that. But at the end of every letter, my mother would always attempt to draw a circle. Her circles never looked like circles. My mother always, she would say, oh God, I'm such not the best artist in the world, but she would make an effort. It would always be a little bit like a lopsided roti, but inside the circle was a heart. And so always my mum would do that at the end of every letter she would send me. And now I'll show you the picture that that the water showed me. Okay, let me just go to the end. There's lots of other photos, so I don't know how many we'll get to share, but here it is. So this was me when I was little and my mum, and this is the beautiful image that the water showed me. And,
What?
you know, it was so nice, Gloria, because I asked the same question a year later, and I got the same image, the same image. Different artist designed it, but I got the same image. And it's a very powerful thing, I believe, to really look at this and think, well, it's as if water is sort of before the veil and after the veil and is the veil as such. And it's so easy, I think, for my mum, the energy of my mum, to be able to design these kinds of images. Because if you think about when people talk about the spirit leaving the body, or the subtle body, or the soul, they always say the soul leaves the body upon death, but they never tell you how. If you think that there are probably many different state types and phases of water,
yes, definitely,
then I think that water probably goes from a liquid, the kind of spirit molecule that's in our body, and goes into some kind of vibrational vapor, which is different than regular vapor, but I don't see why it couldn't be different. And then so it goes from a liquid into a gas, and then it expands. And whenever a gas expands, it cools, which is why people often would say they feel spirit as cold. So it would explain how people have still an awareness when they have an out-of-body experience. I interviewed somebody just not long ago that had that experience of, he said it felt like he was floating, and then he was looking upon his body, observing himself, going, why is that man wearing my clothes? Gosh, I hope he's going to be okay. He had all these thoughts, and that, what is this experience? I mean, he was not in his body, but he said he felt like he was floating. And so it was a very interesting thing, because he said as he went along, and he went through, he said what he kind of called it the holding room. That, like, when you go to an airport, you go and you wait at the airport and then you take off. He said he went there, and then he went through this sort of a place where there were lots of pictures on the wall of different lives, he said. And then when he got to this end, then he saw his grandfather and his son who had passed, and his grandmother. And I said, can you feel anything? Can you see anything? He said, oh, I saw what looked beautiful like the earth. And he said there was a beautiful clear water, a river, and there was ice on the mountains, and everything was so perfect. He couldn't even believe anything could look so perfect. And he said that his loved ones were in a spirit body. They were not, he knew who they were, but they didn't really look like they didn't on earth. And I said, did you touch anything when you were there? He said the only thing he felt physically, he said when his grandfather said, you have to come back, he said, are you ready to go back? And he got down on his knees because he knew he had to go back, and he started to cry. And he said the tears came out of his eyes, and he saw them fall on the ground, and he saw them fall on the ground and jump, and they fall on his grandfather's feet. And he felt the tears. So I'm like, it made me really think that even in his opinion, in his experience in the afterlife, he saw, he was in his physical, in the spirit body, even in the spirit body, tears, fluid, water came out of him. And in this, I think it's a very powerful thing that he said. There's a lot within that. And it is that part of me that really believes that through life and what we think of as death, always water is with us. And in fact, I think that that's the essence. I think water, the awareness, is the essence.
We are coming now to the end of our 1 hour. So I would like to ask you, please, to tell us what 3 tools you can share with us that can help us jump back into joy in any kind of challenging time.
Well, one of the greatest tools that I've used over the many years is this, and that is to become the observer of yourself. So when I feel start to find myself feeling sad or feeling upset or frustrated, more and more I've trained myself to do this, is kind of go into this space, because there's always another part of us. So if we're actually able to observe ourselves. So there's a part of us within us which can observe ourselves in that moment. So I always observe myself, and in that observer space, there's no judgment. So I'm not saying you should or shouldn't think this way. I'm simply observing. And as I am observing, I ask the question, I wonder why you're feeling like this. Where is this coming from? Where is this feeling coming from? It's not a judgment, it's a question. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, I have found that very helpful, because when I don't feel that I'm judging myself, then I feel like I have the ability to heal. And as we go through our life, so often we're faced with different challenges. But the biggest thing I found is being able to observe myself in those moments without judgment.
How does water help you in this observing yourself without judgment, the water in your body?
Water, there's that saying that the eyes are the windows to the soul. Our eye lens is 99% water. And so essentially, water is also reflective. It is a mirror. And so when I think about myself in those times, I think that I want to be the most beautiful reflection in the eyes of myself. And I think that water not only is inside of me, always it's outside of me, observing me too. And so I feel
in the air.
Yes, there's so much water in the air. Yeah, but we just don't see, because we don't see it, we don't think about it. But there's so much water in the air.
And you say that to remember that I'm a body of water, like you were saying, on a journey to source. That's another way to hold you. Can you tell us what this means, on a journey to source?
Everyone that I've found that I think there's this saying that water is a resource. But I always say, no, water is not a resource, it is source. And so when I think about source, I think the source of awareness, the source of this loving embrace, kind of, not emotion, the loving vibration. And so always I feel that the person that loves you most is going to also be a strong force that kind of will not allow you to be in your lower vibration. And that is what happens with water. I found that as I am a body of water on a journey, always we're moving, we're going somewhere, we're thinking something, we think we're taking ourselves somewhere. And we are always going somewhere towards a source of kinds. And so I really feel like everybody is so individual and everyone is so different. I can only speak for myself. But for me, when I think about source, I think of my highest self, the highest vibration that I can possibly be. And so in that space, I feel that the journey that I'm on, because I'm working and loving water, I am forced to constantly be in my higher vibration, because that is for my highest good and for the highest good of the world and the highest good of the planet.
You mentioned forced. How are you forced to do that? Because this is a very good way to understand how to spring back to joy, which is high vibration, which is all what you're saying. So yeah. You are forced. How are you forced?
Well, I think of water as a force of nature, a force of energy.
So the force directs you that way.
Yeah. Yeah, not in an aggressive kind of forceful way.
Yeah.
But in the way that water can be a rapid, it can be a tidal wave, it can be all these different types of things. Sometimes it's a beautiful still pull, but sometimes it gives you a push as well.
Maybe it is not giving you the push. You are not allowing the.
That's it. I'm the rock in the way of the stream.
Yeah, our mind does that. Now, and number 3, which I also find it incredibly profound, is preparing you for whatever you're truly meant to be. What does that mean? That it won't throw you into the future, and if you get out of the now, then you will create a gap that will create frustration. So please explain this. How can you speak about preparing you for something without getting out of the now?
Well, I believe, because I don't believe that this is just the end. I always think if we're a body of water, water is always in flow. Water is always flowing. And in that respect, without that kind of stop, which we think of as death, because in the now we think so much, oh, I'm in the now, I'm in this moment, which is all we have, because everything else is a memory, or everything else is something of which we're projecting forward.
Yes.
But when I think about this, I have trust. Simply, I have trust that the divine intelligence that makes my heart beat, that actually helps the water flow within me, that is where all of my divine inspiration comes from, is in fact guiding me to my highest good. It is simply in trust. There is no other word, because we can't know what's going to happen for our future. It comes down to that inner trust and that inner knowing. And I think that that's the part of me, that the water within me has got the highest vibration and awareness. And within that, with the awareness, it comes trust. Because nature trusts. You know, you plant a seed, it seems so dark. We feel sometimes like we're in this darkness. What's happened to me? And then the water comes and the light comes. Slowly we feel like something's happening. We're moving. It's still dark. It's so dark. And then all of a sudden we come out into this world and we are born.
Wonderful.
So trust is very important.
And then if you top that with singing, for me that has always helped. You feel this trust and you feel that wow. And then you just sing, just sing. So whatever was compressing you, somehow, realizing this, the trust, the light, knowing that the water in you is accompanying you, in the water outside of you as well. I want you to please now tell us a little bit about this. The Secret Intelligence of Water is the name of your book. And you have the live shows. And tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, you are interviewing your dad.
I am. So we're doing the pre-recording tomorrow, and the actual show will come out, and it's free for a week, and then it goes into like a thing where you sign up. But I'm interviewing my dad. Yep, his name is Bill Hohepa. He's this beautiful Maori fisherman. He's pretty well known in New Zealand actually. And he does a lot of amazing things for people. And he also has written something called the new Maori fishing calendar, which comes out each year, which bases the way in which the fish like to come out and bite on the phases of the moon. And he has a lot of thoughts about the ocean, and it's kind of an interview from the perspective of a fisherman that also happens to be my dad. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very nice. So
that's on the Awake TV network.
Where can we see this?
That's on the Awake TV network. So anybody who wants to go to my website, which is vedaaustin.com. When you go to media, you can see the link, which will take you to all the episodes of my show, and also show you all the interviews that I've done, as well as examples of my work and videos that I've made. And you can buy my online book there. At the moment, it's an ebook, and so you can buy that. And it's being published, so that should come out in the early part of next year as well.
Very nice. Tell us about your project, Give a Little.
Yeah, so it's called the Water Heroes Project. So over the last 8 years, I've gone into primary schools, that's children aged between 8 and sort of 11. And I donate a day a month teaching water science and water related projects, intertwining it with art with young children. And what I observed is that there is so little about water that is actually taught in schools. Most children think that water just comes from clouds. Most teachers just think water comes from clouds. They have no idea that water actually, a lot of the water came from meteorites. And so I share some really fun, exciting projects with the children, and I also share my technique of crystallography with them. And so what I want to do is actually film a series kind of for this age group, but for any age group that wants to know, and it will be in connection with the curriculum. So there'll be a science episode and an art episode, social studies, history, understanding questions like what makes holy water holy, and why do a lot of Indigenous people believe that water is a living being, and what is fourth phase water, and what's alkaline, what's acid, and what if you freeze water for 4 minutes, what does it look like? What are the patterns in water? What do they tell us? And so these children will become more and more empowered, understanding that their thoughts also can make a difference to the way in which their body responds, because with all of the trillions of cells in our body, we can understand our thoughts become things, and we can empower ourselves. In fact, really, truly, it is a way of empowering these young people to understand about the power they have within them as a being of water and a being of light, because water and light, they go together, as well as salt. And I think that also when you care about something, then you'll look after it. And these young people, they really don't know very much about water outside of drinking it and bathing in it and taking our waste away. If they care about water and they get excited about water and see themselves as a body of water, there's a chance that the planet that we live on will have young people that love water and care about water. And so the project, it costs about 3,000 New Zealand dollars to film each episode. And so the Give a Little is just about people donating a little bit of money. So it's going for 3 months of fundraising, and then we're going to have it professionally filmed. And my two young children, my son Rama, who's 13, and Shanti, who's 10, they're actually hosting the show. So it's not me going on about water. It's them teaching what they know in their words.
This is amazing. I want to share with you how I do believe in the power of water from before, from a long time. I've been in touch with it, and I guess this is why you came to my life. And actually, it's amazing. I'm in Mexico, and then I get this message from you. Please, I've been seeing your show. Can I share my message? And here we are. From Dubai now, because it took a month or something to have your time with us. So I remember as well when I went from, in March, all this pandemic thing started. And so I flew to Mexico to be with my staff. And I was so upset because they fired the whole crew of a hotel that I love a lot. I go, that's where my gym is and my spa would be. And all of a sudden, one night to another, they fired everyone. And I was so upset. And I knew my being was communicating. And so water was helping me, I'm sure, to tell me, hey, Gloria, you better change that, all that negativity in the judging, turn it around or else it's going to go against you. Because I remember Immortal's words, when you hate the water, it will give you crystals that are very horrible. And you were saying, if you're not in a good mood, water will not play with you. So now as I'm speaking, I can relate it to that. And I took a deep breath and I said, wait. This is not going to help. I'm going to have a heart attack. So I did cry. I held one of my staff, one of my collaborators, and never had seen me crying. I was so upset. And then I switched it to a world that is fed, serene, dignified, and very kind. And I'm going straight with these thoughts, and I'm just going that way. And if you scream at me, I will hug you. And it worked so well that an orchard was born. I'm saying born, born. Because after that, and I would just go straight that way. If people would come to try to nag, this is happening. I said, sorry, I'm in the endorphin mood. I'm in the mood of being serene. I see the world that is fed. This is all I see. Everything is dignified. I would go to the markets and buy $1 from this lady, $2 from that one in the market, you know, because these are people who, whatever they sell the day, they will eat and they will share with their families. And hug. I would hug everyone, of course, because this is just the way we're designed. And miracle happened. I want to show a little video of the miracle of this amazing orchard where people came together to contribute. And as I'm speaking, we are continuing to contribute now. Events, holistic events are going on there. Amazing the power of this. So please allow me to share this video with you. I don't see it playing. Hola, Paola. Hijito más. ¿Primera vez que cortas un repollo, sobrina?
Sí.
Gracias por cuidarlos y de nutrirlos. Gracias.
¿Verdad?
Sí.
¿De aquí?
Sí.
Gracias.
Nice.
That's so beautiful.
Yes, so beautiful. Really, thank you for allowing us to understand how water can help you and how you can, you know, just be kind to that water. And I was being kind to myself, not to overload myself with those worries. So don't worry, be happy. And thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we're going to keep on keeping on. Definitely, we will read your book, and most probably I will come to New Zealand. You will come to Mexico. You will come to Dubai, or we'll meet whatever. I'll see your father tomorrow. Is it going to be on? We can see that interview, or that's just the pre?
Oh, it'll be the day after.
The day after. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, please get connected to the water within you. Hug your mother. Hug your son. Hug your cup of tea. Sweet water. Thank you for making me so happy. And stay in touch, please, my sweet Veda, with all of us. I will make sure that we continue to share these messages of water through your book, through your whatever it is. And thank you so much. Have a super wonderful watery day.
Oh, Gloria, thank you. You're an angel. And thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you, everybody. And let's stay happy through water. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.